5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I think we're live on YouTube, and I'm going live in 3, 2, 1 on Facebook. Hello, world. I am Dan Salem, live on YouTube and on Facebook at The Dan Salem on Facebook mentions, at The Dan Salem on Twitter. BuzzChomp over on YouTube. Live here talking the NFL and touching on a few of the other sports activities. We missed each other last week, but it was for a good reason. My beautiful daughter Madeline was born last Tuesday morning. Hence, I didn't live stream last Tuesday night. I'm sorry. You guys had to go a day without my beautiful face on your screens. But here I am. I'm back. Let me tweet this baby out at The Dan Salem. I'm going to tweet it out so you can come follow me on BuzzChomp and watch this live stream. Or if you're over on Facebook, you can watch it. We're going to be back talking the NFL. Good thing not a lot happened in the last 2 weeks. Just a few minor developments as the NFL draft approaches. Therefore, I can do a full-on recap and touch on the biggest story of the day, Mr. Tony Romo. All right, let's do some Twitter action. All right, I'm tweeting it. It's been tweeted on my at the Dan Salem. I'm going to retweet it over on BuzzChomp. And then we can talk the NFL and more. Oh yeah. It's an NFL quarterback carousel. Screw what Twitter thinks. It's freaking cookies don't update for a week, whatever. It's the NFL quarterback carousel. I got a nice picture of dual Romo faces facing one another on this live stream. Oh, it's a good picture. Is he actually retired? Now, there's two sides to this story. My brother and I are going to debate it in writing tomorrow on NFL Spin Zone. Today we touched on the most recent NFL rule changes. I'll go get to that in a second. That was out of the owners' meeting last week. Every coach stands and speaks at the owners' meetings, and then there are new rule changes. So I will talk about those things. But first, Mr. Tony Romo. Okay, so Tony wanted to play for a contender this year. He's only got another year or two left of football in him. He's an older man, and he's a good quarterback coming off a couple injuries, so serious questions arrive, right? The Cowboys were due draft pick compensation if he signed with another team while still under contract. So he went ahead and instead signed a deal with CBS to be their live color commentator along with Jim Nantz. He's replacing Phil Simms. What? I love Phil Simms. I'll get to that in a second. So now he was released by the Cowboys. So he has no contract, which means that other teams could start throwing money at him without having to pay draft pick compensation as well. So there's 4 schools of thought. We lay it out nicely. Todd and I debate tomorrow. NFL Spin Zone will be at the Dan Salem on Facebook. Did he just sign this deal to get another team to give him an NFL contract? So is he going to unretire a la Marshawn Lynch? He kind of has to unretire pretty quickly, but it could hurt his broadcast career. And so then the other school of thought is, does he actually have a good broadcast career? So everyone seems to think Tony's going to be great at what he's doing. But is he actually going to be a great color commentator? Or is he going to end up being a studio guy doing the halftime show? Or is he going to stink altogether and be out of this job in a year or two? Those are kind of the options. It'd be pretty awesome to see him unretire. I mean, Brett Favre unretired. I think Marshawn Lynch is officially unretired. I don't know that for a fact. And so, the Houston Texans have a good team, but don't have a quarterback really to speak of now. Would he unretire to play for the Texans? I mean, you kind of want to make that decision prior to the draft because otherwise your team might draft a quarterback. So is Tony really, really retired? He has not won a championship. He has not really been a starting quarterback in a year, 2 years. It's been a long time. So I would think he would have that itch. Now, NFL jobs on TV are cushy jobs. I mean, basically, unless you're really stinking at it, you can keep that job for a really long time, especially ex-players. Ex-players have longevity. They can hop around networks. He's starting on CBS. What happened to Phil Simms? Did Phil Simms retire? Is he going somewhere else? I love Phil Simms. As a Jets fan, Phil Simms and Jim Nantz did the Jets games. They're the CBS color guys. What happened to Phil Simms? I mean, Tony Romo, that's some big shoes to fill, man. So, his success hinges on his ability to be better or as good as Phil Simms. Phil Simms has been doing this for a really long time. Phil Simms is pretty awesome. So maybe he switched to do NFC games. I don't know. I got to look this up. But I'm going to miss Phil doing the AFC and the Jets. And Tony, I think you got a fair shake. I'm going to give you a fair shake. I think you could do good. Do well, proper English. But this is going to be tough. I mean, freaking, you got to fill you got to Phil Sims' shoes. Well, that's a tongue twister. And that's tough. That's a tough load to carry. So you have technically retired, according to the current reports, where you signed a deal with CBS to be the color guy. That's a good gig. I don't see why the Broncos or Texans wouldn't try to unretire Romo, but I'd be hard-pressed to see why Romo would actually unretire. Because this type of a job with Phil Simms obviously going elsewhere doesn't come around very often. So you're not going to get this type of an opportunity to be a color guy down the road. He could be a studio guy. He could do the halftime, the pregame, be like Dion making... Was it Dion that makes predictions? A lot of guys make predictions before the games, and then they're at the halftime show, and there's a whole hullabaloo around these games now with tons of ex-players giving X's and O's and blah, blah, blah. But only 2 people get to call the game. And that's the fun. That would be the most fun job for me. That's coveted. It's harder to get, less availability, and you get the primetime game each week, more or less, or you get to do a couple of them. This gig won't necessarily be there if he unretires, especially after signing the deal and then balking out of the deal. Now, I would think that CBS would have wanted some sort of an assurance from Romo that he wasn't going to unretire, but you never know. I mean, you never know. I got my 2 Jets hats. This one kind of collapsed on me. And the Yankees, because it's baseball season, and I wanted to show some pride. And then the Clippers, because it's the Clippers, and I'm in LA, but who knows how they're doing. We'll talk about that too later. I like to touch on my other teams. Tony would be calling those Jets games because Phil called the Jets games. I'm just going to come out and say I think that Romo is actually retired. Unfortunately, he didn't get to go out on top, but he does have a really nice job now. And I do think he'll do pretty well as the color guy, but ultimately I see him as an in-studio personality. I think he'll stick in studio. I don't know how many years he'll get to do the color commentary, maybe 2 or 3, but ultimately he'll move over to the studio side. He could be really good. Phil Simms is a high bar. I really liked Phil Simms. That's a high bar. So, Tony, good luck. The other major story of the last couple of weeks, NFL owners' meetings. So, these owners' meetings, rule changes were released, and every coach spoke to the media. Now, as a Jets fan, I am well in tune with what Coach Todd Bowles said to the media. Basically, he went on about getting more involved with the offense. Interesting. An open quarterback competition. Expected. And their desire to potentially add another quarterback. Interesting. Now, Rich Cimini does a nice job covering the Jets on ESPN, and he's basically followed each time they've met with a rookie. The Jets have visited Watson, Trubisky, Kaiser, and I'm blanking. But basically, they've interviewed 4 or 5 of the rookie quarterbacks here. They got the 6th pick. I liked the proposed trade for the 20th pick. I think it was a 23rd pick with Oakland and toss over Sheldon Richardson. I liked that because you get one of those QBs later in the first round. That's a good deal because you can really get a stalwart on the defense or offense with that 6th pick. Going 6 with the QB is tough, but I like Deshaun Watson. He's got the experience. I think that the reports were here that the Jets are very high on, is it Trubisky? I think it's Trubisky out of UNC. Yeah. And now they're comparing him to Mark Sanchez. The numbers are very similar between Mark Sanchez and Trubisky. Trubisky's got much fewer interceptions. But the playing experience, the unknowns. Sanchez had a couple good seasons. He never materialized into anything more. than now a reasonably reliable backup. He's a journeyman. I mean, to be able to be a journeyman quarterback is a solid NFL career, but it's not what you want with a top 10 pick for your QB. So, we don't know what these guys will turn into. I like what Watson did with he's got a playoff experience. He led that team for many seasons. I don't know. But going 6 at QB with the Jets is a tough play. I really like them to get a quarterback later in round 1. I'm also still in on Hackenberg. I want to see what he can do. As a fan, I kind of would like to see what he can pull off. So that's what the Jets coach said to the media. He wants to get more involved with the offense. I mean, he's a defensive guy. Maybe you can just make both sides good and not get too involved either way. But not too much else coming out of the owner's mouths. Jerry Jones on the side of medical marijuana for NFL players. I think that would be a tremendous move. It is a great pain reliever with very little side effects as compared to all the opiates and pills that get tossed around, which are addictive and have long-term consequences. Yeah, the pharmaceutical industry is big money. I understand. It's why that NFL players are getting pumped full of opiates and drugs and all this crap. Why not an all-natural drug that actually treats your ailment without the addictive or long-term negative effects? THC oil, yeah. You don't have to smoke it. That hurts your lungs. You can ingest it, drink it, just the oil. It will give you what you need. Makes sense. Jerry Jones, big owner, coming out wanting the NFL to lift its ban on marijuana. That would be huge. Now, I get it that it's illegal around the country at the government level, but it's legal in so many states that somebody like Texas, where it's now legal, or California, those teams could use it. That's big. That would be a big draw for players. Jerry Jones knows that he can get a lot of players to come play for the Cowboys when marijuana is allowed for his players. Just saying. Then we got the rule changes, or as I like to say, the lack thereof. Up on at the Dan Salem Facebook via NFL Spin Zone, Todd and I debated this today. Did the rules really change anything? Just yeah. The replay change is good, but college football has been doing this for a very long time, so it's almost like, okay, yeah, finally. Do I give you credit for doing something you should have done 5 years ago, or do I just say thank you for finally doing it? I'm on the side of thank you for finally doing it, because what took you so long? We're going to have a centralized review process, so it's not going to be like the main ref on the field goes into a booth to review crap. No, there's going to be a ref upstairs that's a review referee, and he's going to look at the play and then send down to the decision. This will save a lot of time. Now, unfortunately, the coach's challenges remain. Now, I get it why the coach is a big part of the NFL. It's a big part of the decision-making process. Coaches want the ability to challenge because what if somebody misses something? But if you have a replay official whose only job is to review every single play for errors, then you should trust him to do his job like you trust the main officials to call the plays in general. You trust the official to call the play. The reason there's a replay is because he made a mistake. But if you have a replay official upstairs that gets to see all the camera angles that you don't because you're on the sideline, and then he gets to say there's an error and buzz down that there's an error, we could save a lot of time by just letting the replay official upstairs determine when things need to be overturned or reviewed. The coaches do not need a challenge if that person is doing his job. Maybe you see, maybe this is like a trial, right? So the coaches will have their challenges this year, but if they don't actually have to use them, see, I think the rule still requires them to use it in order for their challenge to take place. The whole point of an upstairs official should be that he says there was an error and calls it down to correct it. The coaches shouldn't have to point it out. That's what the job of the replay official is upstairs. So that's what college does. This is baffling to me that you can't just allow somebody to review every play quickly and buzz down if it requires further review. Why make the coach pay attention? Why allow errors to go past if the coach doesn't want to waste a challenge? Why not correct the error when you have someone reviewing the error? NFL, no fun league indeed. I also threw in a little tidbit here. They have outlawed leaping over field goal and PAT attempts. Now, the Patriots weren't the only team to do this, but I must say that they were one of the first and one of the primary teams that actually executed this successfully. Is it a coincidence that the NFL decided now to outlaw something the Patriots did well after they were punished for Tom Brady's Deflategate? He got suspended, and yet then he came back and they won the Super Bowl, and then Goodell had to hand them the Lombardi Trophy. Basically, New England and Tom Brady rubbed it in Goodell and the NFL's face that, haha, you suspended me, but it didn't matter because we won anyways. Now they have outlawed one of the Patriots' favorite trick plays. I don't think it was a coincidence. I don't know what the voting is, but I would have to imagine that maybe Robert Kraft would have been one of the lone votes against such a rule change because his team executed this well. Lots of people like to call the NFL No Fun League and NFL No Fun League. I gotta say, this was a fun little piece of strategy that teams employed well. I mean, it's hard to block a field goal or PAT. Why can't someone run and leap up to try to do it over the line? Or run and leap over the line and then be... It's hard to do it. So if you do it, that's kind of awesome. Why are you outlawing this? I don't see the injury risk here. Another thing they outlawed, intentionally fouling people. Again, this is something that was done extremely rarely. It is a very specific strategy. In basketball, we like to dub it hack-a-Shaq because it was first exploited on Shaquille O'Neal primarily. You foul Shaq so he doesn't get the 2-point basket, and you make him go to the free throw line because he's not great at it and he has to shoot the shots. And they've kind of tried to tone that down in the NBA. These intentional fouls in the NFL, I didn't even know people were doing this. It's so rare, but it's not a bad strategy. You got the defense fouling multiple players at the same time. So basically, I think the 49ers did it against the Saints last year where the defense on the 49ers basically held every Saints receiver so that Drew Brees couldn't throw the ball to anybody. And it was a 5-yard holding penalty. A little clock ran off. But the 49ers ultimately gained because the Saints couldn't throw it to anybody because everyone was being fouled at once and it's just a single penalty. So now that's considered an intentional foul, and I believe it's an unsportsmanlike on the team, and that's a bigger penalty. Why? Why do that? It's such a specific strategy that has only a few reasonably smart applications. Let it be fun and weird to have a strategy like that. Why are you outlawing these very unique strategies that actually make the game interesting? I don't understand why the NFL is taking things that could be cool and unique out of the game to try to make all of this uniform. It's uniformity. All right, fine. So this is the Uniformity League, the UFL, Uniformity Football League. More celebration penalties, I believe, are on the horizon. Other subtle tweaks that ultimately make the game of football cleaner, safer. You can really make football safe and less fun, less unexpected. But primarily, I'm on board with anything that speeds up the pace of play on TV. So maybe you add in some of those rules. The replay thing kind of does. But if you get rid of the coach's challenge, that would kind of speed it up too. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Maybe move around commercials a little bit. Speed up the game on television. And everybody wins. It could feel more fun even though if you're making it less fun. Okay. So enough complaining about the rule changes in the NFL. Improvement is improvement. I'm always on board for positive change regardless of the initial reactions to it. We're only a few weeks away from the NFL draft. I guarantee there's going to be a couple more players to drop before then or right afterwards. Adrian Peterson's still available. Jamal Charles is still available. Tony Romo is technically available even though he's now retired. Jake Cutler's still available. There are some former big-name players who have probably wanted big money available. They're going to settle for a little less and play. I don't see them all retiring. That would be like a massive retirement sweep. I doubt it happens. In the other sports, opening day for baseball was Sunday/Monday, opening days. Yankees are on right now. They played Sunday, lost. Okay, boo-hoo. First game of the season, that stinks. They're not great opening day, apparently. And Cubs, I believe, lost. Red Sox won. This is just opening day. It's one game. Season's underway. This is fun. Fantasy baseball is at its peak right now because everything's up in the air and you kind of jockeying, figuring out, is your team any good? Are they going to survive? Can you stay in the top, or are you going to fall behind? Fun fantasy baseball stuff. And the basketball season's winding down. It's got 1 week left. I believe April 13th is the final day, or April 12th, the final day of the regular season. And the playoffs start. My LA Clippers will be in the postseason. They're going to have a rough road with the 4th or 5th seed there, playing another really hot team. It's going to be tough. I mean, they're not... I still like to include them in the top 4 of the West, but it's really the Warriors, Spurs, and Rockets. And then it's second tier, Utah and Clippers. But they could up their game for the playoffs. I mean, a lot of teams turning on in the postseason. The Cavs are going to have to, because right now they're second fiddle to the Celtics. Woo-woo! Boston shout out. So next week will be Tuesday, and we will be live streaming again at 5 p.m. Pacific, thereabouts, assuming that my daughter Madeline complies. She's been a dream right now, silent the entire live stream. Give it up for Madeline for not having a peep this entire time I've been talking. That's wonderful. She's only a week old. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you. But next Tuesday, the NFL will be chugging closer and closer towards the draft. I'm sure that a couple more dominoes will fall, and we'll have some great NFL news to talk about. The basketball season will be over. The playoffs will be about to begin. We will know the matchups, and we can dive into that a hair. We'll have 1 week of baseball under our belts, and we can rip apart teams after 1 week of play for nothing in particular. This is an NFL live stream. We're going to be talking the NFL. We're going to really get into who picks what in the top 10 next week, because the draft will be like 2 weeks away. I'm Dan Salem. Thank you guys for joining me. At the Dan Salem on Twitter, at the Dan Salem on Facebook, Facebook Live, Facebook Mentions. Over on YouTube, BuzzChomp, Pillow Talk TV. 2 amazing YouTube channels that I'm so proud to be a part of. Going to be launching a couple more rather shortly here. Stay tuned. Everything will be found at buzzchomp.com. That's the hub for all of this goodness. Thank you guys. I'll be back next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live talking the NFL. Facebook, YouTube, Dan Salem. Peace out. Good night.